Hey, what's going on everybody? This is Andy Clements and welcome back to another episode of the Muscle Building Mastery Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here because we've got a really cool and awesome episode for you guys today. Today we're going to talk about really popular and really confusing topics to a lot of people when they first start with muscle building, and actually even after they've been muscle building for a few months or even a couple of years, it's something that still is like quite hotly debated in the fitness industry, and that is about what rep range you should follow in order to achieve the best results with your muscle building efforts, because that's something that I know a lot of people have questions about. I know I had questions about it for a long time. I used to try all sorts of different things, like and I just didn't know what was the best way and what I could get the best results with. And I think if you clear this issue up, you're going to save yourself a lot of time, a lot of stress, and a lot of wasted energy in the gym, right? Because you'll be able to direct your efforts much better. So that's what I want to talk about. I want to try and clear that up for you guys in this episode. By the end of this episode, hopefully you'll know what exact rep ranges you need to follow and the reasons why. So, when I first started in the gym, I used to have the perspective that more is better. That was always and that kind of is like innate in us, especially in men. It's like more is better, more, right? That's how I used to think. That's what I used to do. I used to throw more reps, more sets, more everything at my physique in the hope that it would grow. I can remember I used to spend, I spoke about this in the podcast before, I used to spend like 3-4 hours a day in the gym, like ridiculous amounts of time in the gym, just to try and get my body to grow, because the only thing I could think of to do more, to increase my progress, was to do more, right? And obviously that didn't really work so well. I mean, I threw more like sets and stuff, but I never really changed the reps, you know? The reps were always 10 reps. That was my golden number, right? Because that was like, I think like the first ever program I followed, or the first ever person I spoke to about training, he was like, yeah, you've got to do 3 sets of 10, or you've got to do 10 reps per exercise, or around that number, because that's the hypertrophy zone, right? How many of you guys have ever heard that before, right? That's the hypertrophy zone. That's the muscle building zone. It's the same kind of BS mindset as when you get on the cross trainer or the treadmill and it's got like the fat burning zone. This is the fat burning zone. Like, no, that's not how it works. You know what I mean? So yeah, but that was the mentality I had, man. I was like, I bought into it, I ate it up. I was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's go get in this hypertrophy zone and stop at 10 reps, because if we do 11 reps, we might lose games, right? So that was what I used to do, but I used to do multiples of 10 reps to a ridiculous extent, right? So I would do like my 10 reps with, you know, a dumbbell press or something, and then I'd go on and do 10 reps another 15 times with the same exercise. I can remember this one particular time, me and a friend of mine were training. Oh god, it must have been 7-8 years ago at least. Best part of 10 years ago, right? Me and my friend of mine were training, and we were doing this ultimate chest workout. We found this workout online, right? And it was called like the ultimate chest workout, and we were like, it was basically just a dick measuring contest of who can do the more work in the gym, who's more hardcore, who's gonna quit first, right? It was that kind of teenage immaturity, basically. And this ultimate chest workout, literally, the concept of it was, you've got to do 1,000 reps, right? You've got to do 1,000 reps in this workout as quick as possible. But it's just all on your chest, right? So there's no exercises for your triceps, even though obviously your triceps and your shoulders and stuff are getting worked anyway. There's no exercises for any other muscle group. It's all directed at your chest. So me and a friend of mine saw this and we were like, amazing, every exercise was 10 reps, so it's the magic hypertrophy zone, first of all. So we were doing this workout, and I honestly, like, even though we were trying to be macho and trying to not give up like before the other one did, we got to about 800 reps, and I can't remember if we just quit because we were just tired and we just couldn't be bothered anymore, or if we'd been going for like 3 hours and we had to like go to work and we had to like do other things with life, right? And it was just like, this is taking forever. But either way, we only made it to about 800 reps, and that was like, took us forever. It was ridiculous. So that was the kind of stuff, I mean, that wasn't every session, but that was the kind of stupid stuff that I used to do. So I get it, I've been there, I understand not knowing what kind of rep range to follow, and I've you know, suffered the consequences of not following the right rep range for long enough, because when I used to do stuff like that, and I just used to throw all that volume at myself, and I just used to do multiples of 10 reps all the time in this hypertrophy zone, I used to get sore from workouts. Like don't get me wrong, like I threw enough volume at myself to make myself sore, and at first I used to think it was a good thing, but soreness is only actually a good thing if it produces a response of growth, and I wasn't seeing growth. I saw growth to a point, and then I stagnated, and I just kept getting sore and sore and sore. And you shouldn't be getting sore every session, because if you're getting sore, that means that your recovery isn't good enough to recover from the workouts because you're getting sore, right? But anyway, that's a different point. But that was the only change I was seeing, is I was getting sore. I was creating inflammation in my muscles, but not to a point where I was stimulating growth. So anyway, I wanted to know what the exact rep range was, or you know, what kind of rep range I could follow that would produce not just soreness but actual growth. You know, so that's what I was like setting myself on a mission to find. I was like, what rep range do I need to find to be able to use so I can actually grow my muscle mass? And I wanted to build more muscle, but not actually spend all my life in the gym. Like, I was fed up of spending these 2-3 hour workouts every day in the gym. I was like, I just want to be in and out in an hour, maybe an hour 15, done, you know, and get on with the rest of my day. And I want that to be effective and build muscle for me. And I was like, I know that's possible, because on the inside I was like, the way I'm doing things doesn't feel right. Like there must be, I knew innately that there must be a more intelligent and a better way of doing things, but I just didn't know how. And because I didn't know how, I just did the best I knew, right? I just carried on doing what I was doing. I just kept pushing on, kept adding more sets, kept doing what everybody else was doing, following this 10 rep range, and I was just a little bit frustrated. And I got to a point at one stage where I was just so done with not growing, and just so fed up with just producing soreness in my muscle but not actually seeing the growth, you know? So I was going through the pain, but I wasn't seeing the benefit at the end of it, right? And when that happens to us, a lot of times we can end up like wanting to give up, because we're going through the hard thing, we're making ourselves do the hard thing that's supposed to produce the end result, but the end result isn't coming, right? And that's when motivation starts to wane, and that's when you get all these other issues. And that's what I was starting to experience, and I was getting really fed up. And luckily, like so thankful that this happened, that around this time I came across a guy called Jordan Peters. Now, if you're into the muscle building area already, you might have heard of Jordan Peters, you might have looked at some of his stuff. He's a really cool, awesome guy. He's from the UK, and you might have known him as Trained by JP. He's all over like Instagram and social media and all sorts, and he's got his own membership site. Anyway, I came across this guy around that time that I was getting really fed up with, and he was explaining his training style, and he was sort of linking it back to kind of being taking inspiration from things that people like Dorian Yates had done, you know, like the old school bodybuilders had done, where they were emphasizing intensity over and accuracy over volume. So in other words, they were emphasizing that they trained harder and smarter, but not for longer. Okay? Does that make sense? So they weren't doing as much total work, but the work that we were doing was both better and more intense. So that was like changing the game for me. I was like, ooh, okay. So maybe I don't need to be throwing all these multiples of 10 at my physique in order to make it grow. Maybe I need to train harder and smarter, right? So that was one thing for me. But the real epiphany I got from this particular video that he was explaining his training style is, it was this key point, right? And this is important. He was saying, get strong across all rep ranges. There is no one magic rep range. There are benefits to different kinds of rep ranges, which we'll go through in a minute as well. But the key point and the key epiphany that I had, that he was talking about, and that I really want to kind of like hopefully get across in this podcast as well, is that there's no magic rep range. All rep ranges up to a point are important for hypertrophy or for muscle building, right? To be able to grow your muscle, there's no one particular rep range. Now, for reasons that I'm going to explain in a minute, I didn't go too low with my rep range. I didn't go too high with my rep range, because again, in his video and his explanation and some more deep dive research I was doing, both from Jordan Peters and from other people in the industry, and experimentation I started doing myself over the next few months, I realized that by going too low with my rep range, I was only actually causing adaptation to like the nervous system, right? To the brain and the spinal cord and the peripheral nervous system and all these different areas that were associated for lifting weight, but not necessarily causing change in the muscle, right? Does that make sense? So in order to get like a muscular response, you need to not do 1 rep maxes, okay? Now 1 rep maxes are sexy. 1 rep maxes are, you know, they might get some good Instagram likes, because you can pile loads of weight on the bar and you can pull it up and you can see if the girls on a treadmill are looking at you, and they're guaranteed they're not. But you know, you can feel stronger when you're doing the 1 rep maxes. And if you want to test your strength now and again, that's okay. But as a part of your regular programming, when you're trying to build muscle, 1 rep maxes aren't good. So I used to, and what I still do now to this day, is never go below 5 reps. Because when you're starting to go below 5 reps, and okay, it's kind of a grey area, like 3-4 reps is kind of a grey area, but generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, going below 5 reps is more in the realm of powerlifting. It's more in the realm of training for pure strength. And if pure strength without muscle growth is your goal, good for you, literally power to you, right? But if your goal is to build muscle, and if your goal is to grow a physique and to build bigger muscles, which if you're watching or listening to this podcast, muscle building mastery, that's your goal, right? It must be. So if your goal is to build muscle, then doing these 1, 2, or 3 or 4 rep sets is more of an ego-driven thing. I'm sorry to be so blunt about it, but it's more of an ego-driven thing than doing the 5 and above rep sets. So I would encourage you to get strong, but don't go below 5 reps. Now on the other side of it, you know, you can get strong on the higher rep sets up to 20, or max I've ever done really is 25 reps, because then you get into the realm of you're just moving, right? You're just like Mo Farah style. But there's benefits to getting stronger across all the different spectrum of rep ranges between 5 and I would say 20. I'd push 25, but I would say 20, right? So there's that range of 5 to 20 reps that you're going to get strong over. Now, you're not just going to do between 5, that's not your rep range on every single exercise, between 5 and 20 reps. That's a bit of a crazy big rep range, right? But that's the spectrum. So what I decided to do, again, this was inspired by JP, and it's inspired by Dorian Yates. It was inspired by, I forget the guy's name, he invented, I think he was called Dante or something. He invented DC style training, and if you Google like DC style training, it's all this kind of stuff, and it's really, really cool. So what I decided to do is I decided to just keep my workouts to 2 to 3 sets per exercise, primarily on the big movements, 2 sets per exercise. And the first set, obviously you do your warm-ups and you train correctly and safely and all the rest of the stuff, but on the first set, you, again, never go below 5 reps, but you do 5 to 8 reps on that exercise, depending on what it is, but you do 5 to 8 reps on that exercise. By giving yourself a range rather than aiming for a specific number, you know, like I used to aim for specifically 10, then you know, I would either pick a weight that was too heavy and I couldn't quite get to 10, and I would end up, you know, compromising my form and getting myself injured to get to 10, or I would pick a weight that's too light and I would stop before failure because I got to 10. I was like, oh, that's 10, I don't want to go out the hypertrophy zone, right? So by giving yourself a rep range, you give yourself a bit of leeway, okay? So you pick a weight that you can be relatively confident that will take you to failure on that exercise between 5 and 8 reps. Does that make sense? So if you're doing a dumbbell press and you know that you will fail about 6 or 7 reps with 20 kg in each hand, or 30 kg or 40 kg, the weight doesn't matter, it's just relative to you, then that's what you'll pick to do between 5 and 8 reps. And then, you know, the next time, as we've talked about with progressive overload in previous episodes, the next time you come back, you'll do, you know, you might try and get an extra rep out, or you might go up in weight, but the same principle applies. You're going to try and make yourself fail. You're trying to make that muscle fail between 5 and 8 reps, and the weight gauge is just what weight will make you fail between 5 and 8 reps. And if you're going above 8 reps in that first set, you've picked a weight too light. If you can't make it to 5 reps and you keep failing at 2 or 3 reps, you've gone too heavy. And that's just a feedback mechanism. You know, every now and again that's okay. It's like, oh, never mind, you know, I bombed that set, but, you know, I'm going to write that in my logbook, make sure that I make the adjustments next time, and move along. So that's the first set. The second set is what we call a back off set, right? And I know I'm going deep in this, I don't want you to get bogged down in it, but it's just a general rule of thumb. This is what's really helped me clear things up rep range wise. And the back off set, so you got your first set done of your 5 to 8, your back off set then, I would normally go for around 8 to 12 reps. Right, so your top end is your 8 reps on your first set, and then your bottom end is your 8 reps on your second set. So, you know, again, going back, let's say you're dumbbell pressing, like doing a dumbbell chest press or something like that, it doesn't matter, any exercise, and you get in 7 reps on 30 kg in each hand, or whatever it is. Again, weight doesn't matter, it's not important. And you fail at 7 reps, then you might drop to 25 kg in each hand for your back off set, and you might fail at 11 reps, right? And that's good, because that's then you picking an appropriate weight to fail between 5 to 8 on a first set, and appropriate weight to fail between 8 to 12 on a second set. So that's generally how I split my rep ranges up. Now, I understand that that's only covered part of the 5 to 20 rep range. We've only covered 5 to 12. Because that was my current level of, or my limited level of understanding when I first learned about this stuff. So I was like, oh, amazing, 5 to 8, 8 to 12, I'm going to apply that to everything. That's amazing, I'm going to do that. And so I did that, and I saw some progress. But because I was only covering this limited rep range, these 5 to 12 rep range, which was bigger than the 10 I was getting before, right? But it was 5 to 12. Then I saw some rapid progress, but then just as rapidly I saw the progress, I saw myself start to stagnate a little bit, right? And I realised eventually that what I was doing was I was still too narrow in my rep ranges. So I decided to broaden my horizons a little bit and start experimenting with different exercises and experimenting with what rep range was appropriate for what exercise. And I found that some exercises are appropriate for the 5 to 8 rep range, followed by the 8 to 12. Some exercises are more appropriate for a top set of an 8 to 12, followed by a 12 to 15 or 15 to 20, right? So it's a spectrum, and you've got to just experiment a little bit and figure out which exercise is well suited to which rep range. So that's a whole, you know, probably hour-long conversation in itself, just discussing which exercise is appropriate for which rep range. But some of them are obvious, right? Like, I would consider it a bit daft to do a 20 rep deadlift, right? I don't think that's a sensible idea, because you might be able to do it, but the amount of weight you're gonna have to sacrifice on the bar to be able to actually get 20 reps up probably isn't worth doing. It's probably not a good use of time or energy resources. So I would do the 5 to 8 and the 8 to 12 on the deadlift, right? I would pull heavy, because that's the point of a deadlift. It's pull heavy. It's a heavy lower back loading movement. But if you go to a lat pull down or something like that, then an 8 to 12 and a 12 to 15 or even above that might be more suitable for a lat pull down. And then the exception to the rule is the leg press, because the leg press is a big movement where it's quite well suited to a low end rep range, because it's such a big, heavy, powerful movement. But you can also really get a great benefit and lactic acid build up out of doing a high rep on that. So some of them are like kind of blur the lines a little bit, but what I would encourage you to do is to experiment with them and see which movements suit which exercise, suit which rep ranges, sorry. Now, if you struggle with that, then I've developed this 6-week training program that you probably heard about in the intro to specifically take you through the process of developing your muscle mass with certain rep ranges or certain exercises, and you'll be able to see what exercises are suited to what rep ranges as you work your way through that 6 weeks. It's completely free. You can just head to www.musclebuildingmastery.net to download that, and you'll get that completely free, and you'll be able to see which rep ranges actually suit which exercises. Now, one more point on the rep ranges there, and just another little bit of an insight into why those rep ranges work. There's something called, in our muscles, right, we've got something called a fast twitch muscle fibre and a slow twitch muscle fibre. Now, there's actually 3 types, but I'm going to simplify it a little bit and just call them fast and slow twitch. So the fast twitch muscle fibres are kind of the bigger, more powerful muscle fibres, and they get activated when we lift more heavy weights and we do more explosive stuff. So the fast twitch muscle fibers are the predominant muscle fiber type that you'll see in people like Usain Bolt, right? Because he's a fast, explosive runner, he's a sprinter, and he's got quite well developed muscles, right? He's got well developed fast twitch muscle fibers. He doesn't necessarily have very well developed slow twitch muscle fibers, because the slow twitch muscle fibers are the ones that are more associated with endurance, and they're more associated with the higher rep stuff, right? So someone like Mo Farah, who's really skinny, but you can still see his muscles, but he's just really skinny, he's got slow twitch muscle fiber development. There aren't very big muscle fibers, and because he doesn't have the fast twitch developed, he doesn't look like he's a very big guy, right? So there's not one that's primarily better than the other. If you were only going to do one, I'd say just do the fast twitch muscle fibers and just lift a little bit heavier and ease towards the 5 to 8 rep range, because they're bigger, right? And so you're going to get more of a return on them. But I wouldn't neglect one or the other. So when you're doing up towards them 15 to 20 rep ranges, just bear in mind you're doing more of the, you're working more into the slow twitch muscle fiber area, and when you're doing your big, heavy, powerful movements, that's when you're doing the big, powerful, fast twitch muscle fibers that's going to really give you the size and strength. But both are important, and that's why we want to work across this variety of different rep ranges and get strong across the whole spectrum of rep ranges to keep ourselves progressing both in strength and size. So that's the basic premise of what I did. And when I started implementing them, that spectrum of rep ranges, I saw tons more progress, and the progress was more consistent, you know, compared with back then when I was doing those stupid 1,000 rep workouts. Like my progress was stagnant, and I just didn't recover. I was getting sore. Whereas nowadays, since I've been doing this style of implementing these kind of rep ranges, my progress has been amazingly consistent. I've not been getting anywhere near as sore. Like, don't get me wrong, now and again if I do a hard workout, I'll still get sore, but I'll recover much faster, and I will be in a much better place to grow muscle and build strength, because I've grown so much more muscle and built so much more strength since I've actually been implementing this more intelligent way of training. So that obviously helped me feel way more confident. I was able to help others, help my clients, help my friends, help my training partners more effectively, and help myself more effectively as well. And it was just so like empowering, and it was good. It was it was really good. So that's essentially what I did, and that's essentially what I would advise you to do as well. So I hope that you found some value in that. Hope that you found some insight into how to structure your rep ranges and how to get them working for you and helping you to develop more muscle and strength. And yeah, I hope that was useful. So if you enjoyed that and you want some more information about how to structure your rep ranges in a given workout, like I mentioned earlier, you can go to www.musclebuildingmastery.net to get your free 6-week workout program completely on the house, no charge whatsoever. Just head to www.musclebuildingmastery.net, grab your free workout program now, and you'll be able to see how this works in action. Other than that, if you found this useful, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed, you liked the video, if you watch on YouTube, you left me a review on iTunes or Spotify, and yeah, let me know what you think. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I'll see you next time for another episode of the Muscle Building Mastery Podcast. Bye.